The Bible is arguably the most enigmatic book of all time. Its depth and richness of narrative, songs, poetry, law, prophecy, and eschatology is unrivaled in its class. This text confounded many for centuries. Attributed to the divine inspiration of the Most High Yah, only a select few were privileged to be able to unravel the mysteries that lie beneath. Today, there are tons of academic gatekeepers who have been able to unlock this coded script using a variety of techniques mostly unknown to laymen. However, today this is no longer the case. Thankfully, Divine Prospect has spent 15 years playing the spook who sat by the door to gather intel on how to best approach the text and get the most objective understanding possible. He is making these techniques available to the general public in the upcoming KHM Holistic Research Paradigm for Bible study classes. For the first time, be able to read the text the way it was intended by the author to his immediate audience. Once you've been able to successfully decipher the scripture, you will then learn how to map it to modern times and yield a harvest of actual results. Sign up today by going to www.patreon.com/Divine Prospect and join the $50 tier to reserve your spot. Seats are extremely limited, so take advantage of this opportunity before it's too late. Peace and shalom. Peace and shalom, family. Shalom, shalom. It's your brother, Divine Prospect of Kingdom Harbinger Ministries, and we are back in the building. All right. So, apologize for being so late. Was having issues with my camera not connecting with my web browser for whatever reason. Had to flush the cache, move the cookies, and do that fun stuff to try and get it working again. And finally, I got it working. And still unable to remove this default background. I got to do some more digging and find out how to do it. So that's why you see the Freestyle Friday background behind me. But we are here for whatever amount of time that I have available to me and whatever I can do that's quintessential to contributing to your growth and walk as we chart through the information and we build. Oh, the shirt. Somebody said I like the shirt. Yeah, this is not my shirt. So I got this at the Fringed Up Fest last year. I will be at the Fringe Up Fest this year. That's in July. So it's in about 2 months. And then also in July is going to be the Great Awakening Assembly Conference. So I will be there. Y'all willing as well. So if you are in Atlanta, you'll be able to chill out with us out in July. And I am planning a get together in Atlanta because, traditionally in the world, we celebrate our birthday. We hang out, go out to clubs and go drinking and shopping sprees and all of that. Well, I want to spend that time with y'all. So this will be in June. It'll be probably the weekend around the 8th of June. And it's going to be a small get together. I'm going to get a small venue. We go spend time, chill, hang out, fellowship, and all that good stuff. And if you want me to do a lecture, I can. Otherwise, it'll just be all of us talking, doing round tables, having discussions and all of that. So I've been wanting to do this for the longest, but it's been very difficult for me to do it because it required a lot of resources for the things that I really want to do. But now I'm just going to keep it small, and I think it'll probably be much better that way. But after June, I will be in Detroit for the Great Awakening Assembly event, their conference, and there will be Fringe Fest also in July. So we have a lot coming up in June and July. I would say May is the recoup month going into the summer, which is going to be very interesting. All right. So with that being said, family, let me get through the housekeeping so I can open it up to answering your questions as well as sharing a link. And this is mostly the link is for anybody that disagrees with anything being said, what we teach, what we stand for. If you want to bring the smoke to bring correction, reproof, and, show me a different way than what it is that we're sharing here. I would love to hear it. It can be a discussion. It can be a short debate. Solely up to you. And most of the trolls here as well. Feel free to click it and let's get down and dirty. All right. So with that being said, let's go through our housekeeping. First and foremost, thank y'all for being here. I appreciate that as always. I love showing up here with y'all, chatting with y'all in the chat, talking to the trolls, haters, and the defactors that's coming on the link for the smoke, and doing what I can to contribute to y'all's people, to help uplift, encourage, equip, educate, and empower y'all as you continue to walk forward and press forward. However, this is a collaborative effort. It requires coordination and cooperation. And the best way that we can take what we're doing here and transform it into a system that we continue to push in the community so we can awaken our people to the impending arrival of Yah and his kingdom, and prepare them for his arrival by teaching them kingdom etiquette and putting systems and resources in place to sustain us when he judges this planet before his return. I want to definitely go over that with you. So as you know, this is the Kingdom Harbinger Ministries channel. I'm typically the host. And as a part of Kingdom Harbinger Ministries, which I am, I want to invite you to join Kingdom Harbinger Ministries as well. There are tons of immediate benefits you get upon signing up. We also provide skills for you to be effective in the ministry as well as in your personal journey. We do provide assignments for people who are interested. If you're part of KHM and you don't have an assignment yet, email us at kingdomharbinger@gmail.com. I want to give a shout out to everyone that is part of the KHM team. Shout out to y'all. And as you know, and I've been saying this since the beginning of this year, our goal for 2026 and beyond is to push the covenant social reconstruction model. And this is important. There's been nothing like this paradigm anywhere in our community, nor has it existed anywhere in the Black community at large as well, Black and brown community. So I want to showcase this for y'all like I normally do, give you some insight into what it is. And if you're interested in signing up, there's a link in the description below that you can click on, and you can immediately sign up for Kingdom Harbinger Ministries, right? So what is this Kingdom Harbinger Ministries, and what is the Covenant Social Reconstruction Model, the CSRM? I'm gonna go over it with y'all real quick, and then we're gonna go through the rest of our housekeeping, and then I will open up the live for Q&A, as well as anybody that wants to smoke, okay? Now, let me do this. Let me get these other items out the way before I go into this. So put a pin on that. Second thing is I want you to follow me on TikTok. There's a lot more discussions that I join, debates that I have, and then sessions that I have on TikTok. So I'm able to capture some of those sessions and put them on Patreon. I only have one on Patreon so far because it's very difficult to capture these things because I'm unable to download a file. So I have to screen record it for whatever length of hours it is. Then I have to edit it. And then after I edit it, then I have to upload it. Right. So it requires a lot of effort. That's why I don't have a ton of them already on Patreon. And also, a lot of them are not recorded by the hosts of those sessions so that I can get a copy of it. For example, I recently had a 2-hour debate with 5 Jehovah's Witnesses. That was wild. I was locked in for 2 hours with Jehovah's Witness. I'm like, man, I cannot wait to get this content and show the people on YouTube. And unfortunately, they did not record the session. The session was being recorded when I first came in because they was talking about it. After I was done with them for 2 hours locked in with Jehovah's Witnesses, bro, they did something to the recording and they didn't share it with me. And I tried to reach out to the host. They obviously didn't respond back. I was mad, bro. I was like, it's hot. But pretty much what we discussed, just so you know, Jehovah's Witnesses believe that Jesus is the firstborn of all creation. That means the Most High created him before he created the material world. And he created him as an angel. And the name of that angel is the Archangel Michael, right? They believe that Michael the Archangel is Jesus. They use various scriptures to prove this. They deal with a lot of Christophanies that they were trying to use to deal with this. And they failed and fell flat on their faces on that. And then, you know, the culmination of those things is Daniel, in the book of Daniel, when Michael the archangel is mentioned, especially in Daniel chapter 12, when he's going to stand up on behalf of Israel. He's called the Prince of Israel. All these titles, they say that that's him. And I said, wow, so Jesus is an archangel, and he was struggling with the devil over the body of Moses and had to call on the Lord. Hebrews 1 says that Jesus is incomparable to any other angels that the Most High has spoken to, and you said he is an angel. I had to go in with them on their own text. I used the NWT, I used the ESV and the NWT, the New World Translation, which you can get from jw.org. And I went into the footnotes. I'm reading their footnotes. I'm like, yo, you know, your footnotes doesn't give an exegetical commentary on the original language and how they derive certain words that's being interpolated into your translation, right? So then I had to go over with them the Aramaic from Daniel, the Hebrew from the Tanakh, and the Greek from the New Testament. I said, let's take a look at what's saying on the line. Then eventually they walked with me through it. I gotta give them credit. They did. And they knew a little bit of the language, like a little bit. But the problem is that JW, Jehovah's Witnesses as an organization, I think they're only limiting that type of knowledge and studies to a select few of the elites within the organization. And it's unfortunate because a lot of things they just couldn't see. And I wanted to show them that to some point where they attempted to handicap me out of the original languages. And I said, okay, fine, let's do that. And then a lot of times they didn't want to read the entire context. So it was problematic. But those type of discussions, if I can't get a copy of the recording, this is why I need y'all to follow me on TikTok so you can catch them live, because this was an expose of JW. Like Jehovah's Witnesses, they took a big L, man. Now, I ain't gonna lie, they put up a fight, but that's because it was 5 of them and 1 of me. You know what I'm saying? It got to a point where a guy was like, well, how do we know that you're qualified to go through the original languages? I said, bro, I'm doing with you right now. What you mean, how am I qualified? I'm demonstrating it with you right now. What are you talking about? And that's because it was getting a whooping on that front. And he jumped in to try to segue it away from that. And then another one came in and said, oh, we don't need all that smarts in education. And then they started speaking down because they said, oh, you just sounding smart. No, this is how I talk. Now, I could bring the New York out and be hood and simple with y'all, but that would not be becoming of my character and how I've elevated from the old man. You want me to bring out the old man and talk to y'all. Now, sometimes I ain't gonna lie, I do that on TikTok for the ignorant ends that's out there. You know what I'm saying? Ignorant ninjas that's out there. Sometimes I bring the New York out and I gotta press them. You know what I'm saying? With the information, right? Because y'all know I don't do threats and stuff like that. I mean, if anybody got a problem, you know, all the events I'm at is public. Y'all could show up and we can squash it as men. I'm fine with that. But what I'm saying is when I get on there, I'm looking at my people as family first. We have disagreements and arguments. We could fight and all that. And it's fine. But at the end of the day, you still my family. Now, if you don't see me as that, that's different, right? Because I've had a lot of Black people, especially Black Christians and Muslims and even Israelites say, no, you're not my brother. You're not. I address everybody as family, sister, brother, my brother, you know, Aki, Akoti, right? I say mishpacha, family. I use these terms because I use it to soften the blows that I provide if we're going back and forth in a very serious discourse. I want you to know you're my family, you're my brother, you're my sister, despite our disagreements. I want to drive that home. You know what I'm saying? But the problem is a lot of our people have not elevated to that point. Just because they have a disagreement with somebody, they automatically see them as an enemy. And this is the same thing I do when I talk to young boys from the hood. When I go anywhere and I'm in the hood and I'm approached by these young boys, we have conversations. I said, look, man, that brother is through your family. That sister is through your family. Now, you may have a disagreement, but that don't mean you got to go and pick up the toolie and handle that, get the blicky and take care of that. That's not what that means, just because you have a disagreement. And some of these disagreements are superficial. But when these young people are entrenched in gang warfare, it's very difficult if they've been groomed in that to actually see the truth, especially at their young age. As they get older and they see that the hood abandons them as they get older and they see their friends die and go to jail, and then they go to jail, and then eventually they may go to prison, or their friends may go to prison, or they get abandoned, or they get written off by the gang. I mean, you're going to see these problems arise. Like it's the inevitable. Most of the people that I know that have exited out of the gang lifestyle have some kind of basic or rudimentary association with the gang, because those are their homies, their peoples that they know, but they're not getting involved in the gang activities. And their goal really is to talk to those brothers and sisters that are still in that mindset, especially if you're getting in your 30s and 40s. You should not be gang banging at 40 and 50. Like, you could be an OG, but as an OG, you need to steer them in a different direction. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just letting our people know, like, yo, we family. Like, this is exactly what the oppressor wants. He wants us to shoot and kill each other. He wants us to talk about spending a block on our ops. He wants us to degrade our women. He wants us to break down the family structure. He wants us to do all the dirty work for him. This is why the CIA, the FBI, and any other organization that had their hands in the pot years ago trying to destroy all of these Black Messiah movements, etc., they say, yeah, let's just turn them on each other. Co-intel documentation has proven all of this. Hey, turn them on each other, and we ain't got to worry about it. And guess what? We've been doing the dirty work for the oppressor since he implemented that plan. So anyway, with that being said, in the discussions that I have on TikTok, a lot of them is about a variety of different things. I do have a full session, unedited, that is on it's on I said YouTube. It's on Patreon right now that you can check out and kind of get a glimpse of what that spectrum of conversation looks like. So follow me on TikTok. We're trying to hit 2K followers on TikTok. We're trying to hit 5K by the end of the year. I know it's ambitious, but I believe we can do it. And I need you guys' help and your support, right? Just like your support here, Patreon, and the KHM. We need support over there as well. All right. All right. With that being said, I do have another lecture coming up, because this is integral to some of these conversations that I have on TikTok, especially about Unitarianism, Trinitarianism, and modalism. And the one I have coming up is, did Jesus pre-exist according to the book of Colossians? Does the book of Colossians teach the pre-existence of Jesus? Now, I'm going to give you my affirmations as it stands today. And that is, there is no Christophanies in the Tanakh. And because there's no Christophanies, there's no proof that Jesus pre-existed in the Tanakh. I know some of my Israelite brothers and sisters may disagree with me, and that's fine. So I'm okay with that. All right. And I'm not saying this is definitive. I'm not saying this is absolute. I'm saying this is where I stand currently. And with that, we know that the virgin birth itself, we see it proven in the Greek manuscripts of the New Testament. However, we do have other manuscript evidence, like the Old Syriac Sinaiticus Palimpsest and others, that showcases that no, that's not the case. And it goes back to the 1st century, 2nd and 3rd century, quote unquote, Jewish Christians who identify as Ebionites and Nazarenes, people of the way and others, where their oppressors, and I say the oppressors, they help persecute them, and their ops, their opposition, a lot of patristic sources and church fathers, they identified that they believed that Yeshua came forth from a union between Joseph and Mary. That is what the quote unquote Jewish Christians who walk with Yeshua and walked with the disciples who then became apostles, those are the ones that we see in Acts chapter 21. That's with James, the one that we see with Peter, John, and James in Acts 15, right? These are the individuals who in Acts 11, when the persecution of Stephen happened, they only went to Jews. But the Jews that they went to in the areas that they were scattered, they decided to go spread that message to people outside of the movement. So I'm trying to hold fast to the pedigree of these 1st, 2nd, and 3rd century Jewish Christians, or I call them Israelites or Jews who are messianic and follow Yeshua as a Messiah. And I try to teach from that position, and I try to modify some of the position, because a lot of them, they were not beholden to some packets of information. So I take that position as a template and I modify that template. And that's how I arrive here today. And the reason why I say this, because a ton of Christian positions, JW positions, Mormon positions, on and on, a lot of them have a heavy reliance on Christophanies in the Tanakh, our reliance on the pre-existence of Jesus, that Jesus is God, Jesus was born of a virgin birth, and that's also in Islam, and so on and so forth. And all of these things were foreign to the first, second, and third century Jewish Christians who actually walk with Yeshua and the disciples and the apostles and taught what they taught. So if you hit these things at the core, you can uproot what is the foreign weeds that's been sown as the tares amongst the harvest. And I know a lot of y'all may not understand that now, and that's fine because some of you may hold to these positions, and that's cool. I respect that. If anybody in here believes that Yeshua pre-existed, or there's Christophanies in the Tanakh, I would love to have a conversation. If you believe that Yeshua is God in a sense where he's Yod He Wafe, where he's the Father, or he's consubstantiated with the Father, he's co-equal with the Father, he's co-eternal with the Father. If these are things and positions that you subscribe to and believe, I would love to have a conversation with you, right? So with that being said, let me get to the rest of this, and then we're going to jump right into a Q&A, and I'll share the link there. And I would love to have a conversation, healthy conversation, unless y'all want to make it into a debate about some of these subject matters and other things, right? So another thing I told y'all about the project that I'm still working on is called the ICETIS. Let me pull it up so I can show y'all real quick, because some of y'all may know about this, but I got to keep pushing it. It's crazy because I was trying to share this on a live yesterday, and of course, a Caucasian constituent that happened to be on the panel decided to segue away from me demonstrating a case for African Americans, or so-called Black people in America, having descendancy back to Black Jews in West Africa. So he jumped in and started talking about his descendancy that he can count back 25 generations, his from his father to his grandfather, his great-grandfather, etc., all the way back to the feudal states in Ireland in the United Kingdom. And he wanted to make a whole big scene about that. It's very similar to when the quote-unquote Black Lives Matter movement came on the scene, started to bring awareness and attention to the issues that's happening in Black communities. Again, I am not a proponent of that organization. The organization have failed because the leadership was corrupt, right? And it wasn't based on the foundation. Yeah, but nevertheless, the point is, when that movie came out and was being pushed, all of a sudden people was like, well, all lives matter. Okay, we're not saying all lives don't matter, but there's a heavy emphasis here on Black Lives Matter for a reason. And that reason is because y'all have been overlooking, glossing over, and disenfranchising the claim that we have, where we need to become autonomous and focus on our community. You don't get mad at the Koreans when they do that. You don't get mad at the Jews when they do that. You don't get mad at the Irish when they do it, the Italians when they do that. You don't get mad at the Muslims and the Arabs when they do that, or the East Indians when they do that. But the moment Black people decide we have to come together and create a system of autonomy so we can sustain our culture and our community, there's a problem. The moment we as Black people step in the ring and say, hey, we want to show you our descendancy links back to Black Jews and West Africa. Oh, what you mean? You anti-Semitic? Wait, how am I anti-Semitic? Because I said I want to share this information with you. They do that because it's the truth and they don't want it out. We've seen buck breaking in public from several Black men that came out just to talk about the truth. We're not attacking the quote unquote Jews in the Middle East or even locally in America. We're just simply trying to say, hey, look, don't disenfranchise us from also identifying as Israelites. If you want to call it Jews, that's fine. Okay. This is why we need the CSRM. So I'm going to segue into that real quick, and then we're going to get into our session. So segue into that. The mission statement is Kingdom Harbinger Ministries exists to advance a new framework for Black community reconstruction through the covenant social reconstruction model, a practical system designed to restore land stewardship, economic cooperation, justice, wellness, and long-term stability under community-led governance, While previous movements secured important civil and moral victories, many communities still lack the enduring institutions necessary to sustain autonomy across generations. The CSRM addresses this gap by transforming covenantal principles of justice, stewardship, labor, and rest into measurable systems that strengthen communities from within and create a foundation for lasting dignity, equity, not equality, and prosperity. Through cooperative land initiatives, ethical economic networks, local justice frameworks, leadership development, and transparent standards of accountability, Kingdom Harbinger Ministries equips communities to move beyond temporary reform towards structured self-governance and generational continuity. This work is both practical and visionary, uniting faith, policy, and infrastructure to cultivate communities rooted in responsibility, stability, and shared purpose. Our mission is to help rebuild communities capable of thriving spiritually, economically, and socially so future generations inherit not merely survival, but have the ability to flourish in captivity. This is what we're commanded in the book of Jeremiah. Jeremiah writes a letter to the captives in Babylon and gives them instructions. Plant vineyards and eat from them. Build houses and live in them. Marry your sons and daughters amongst each other. Increase and do not decrease. And pray for the welfare of the city. And interpose on its behalf before Yah, that in its peace or shalom, you shall have shalom. That's the governing principle that our KHM chapters are based off of, and it's been enrolled into the covenant social reconstruction model. King Harbinger Ministries exists so we can herald Yah's kingdom to come. That's what a Harbinger does. But a Harbinger does not herald alone. He prepares the people and prepares the place that the people are at in the city or town in which the king or dignitary or magistrate is coming to so they can receive him. So preparation has been made amongst our community. There's so much going on. We are not prepared. And then when we meet him, we don't have the etiquette, the kingdom etiquette, to be able to navigate in his presence. So our people have to learn that now. So when we get there, we already have it as second nature and our souls that are being redeemed. This is serious stuff. So I'm going to share 2 points with you real quick in regards to our covenant social reconstruction model. If you're interested in learning the rest, you can search up CSRM on our Patreon, www.patreon.com/Divine Prospect. The Patreon, as you know, is there. We have over 1,300 posts with tons of content, resources, material that's not seen anywhere else. And we have it as a repository for you to dig in so you can continue to develop your growth. When you sign up for one of our tiers on Patreon, you're helping to contribute to our research and development methods. So that way we can retrieve more information, create more content, and provide it to you to consume that can help you with your walk. It's to be impossible to go through all of the content within the next couple of years. That's how much content we have on there and how many things we have, from books to articles to paid websites that you can get access to health items, to what else we have in here, videos, teachings, lessons, academic blog, the papers, etc. But if you go there, you can type in the search field, C, Charlie, Sam, Rachel, Maggie, CSRM, and you'll see the draft blueprint that we have there, and you can go through it and see exactly what this thing is about. Because if all you're getting is a teaching from these YouTube videos and they turn the camera off and there's nothing to apply that would make a substantial impact to the community, then why are we still watching? I mean, it defeats the purpose. But let me give you an example, right? We're going to go over covenant governance. Covenant governance is how you're supposed to operate in autonomy. The scriptural foundation is Exodus 18:20 and 26, Deuteronomy 16:18, and Isaiah 1:26. Shared leadership, ethical administration, and decentralized justice. That's important because that's how Yah intended for Israel to operate. That's why the heads of the clans of the tribes had to come forth. It was a confederation. However, everybody wants to be the chief. When Israel asked for a king, Samuel was depressed, saddened, upset by it. And so is Yah. But Yah said, you know what? I'm going to give them what they asked for. And because of a king installed, aside from 3 notable kings, such as David, Josiah, and Hezekiah, the majority of those kings were wicked. And because of such, they caused us to be taken into captivity. But if we go back to the original state that we had, and we had tribal leaders over clans, right? And we create a confederacy that represents all the needs of different areas and pockets of the community. It's different. We have to decentralize justice and governance, because if a leader is taken out, the movement should continue to go on, whether they're assassinated, whether they die of old age or sickness or illness or whatever. The movement cannot stop with one person. It can't. That's why I allow a lot of the chapters to run autonomously so we can teach this. I'm there for oversight. I'm there for insight. I'm there for consultation. But for the most part, they're able to run their own autonomous network in that region by applying the principles that we're learning here in KHM and according to the Covenant Social Reconstruction model. All right. Now, why did I choose the covenant governance? Well, many Black communities suffer from fragmented leadership, reactionary activism, and dependence on outside political systems that often shift with elections and policy changes. The CSRM addresses this by creating internal governance structures with charters, accountability systems, councils, measurable goals, and succession plans. Why is it effective? Instead of relying on personalities or temporary movements, governance becomes institutional and repeatable. What's the contribution to the Reconstruction model? Stability, long-term planning, leadership continuity, and community trust. What's the contingencies? Rotating leadership terms, public audits, ethical review boards, and community voting systems. All right? That's one. That's the covenant governance. 2 is the gate courts, right? Scriptural support for that is Ruth 4, 1-11, Deuteronomy 21, 18-21, and Exodus 18. Torah principle: justice should be local, relational, restorative, and transparent. Why it was chosen? Many conflicts in Black communities escalate because justice systems are often external, adversarial, expensive, or disconnected from the people they serve. Why is this effective? Gate courts focus on mediation, accountability, reconciliation, and restorative outcomes. This reduces unnecessary escalation while strengthening communal responsibility. We don't have to get law enforcement involved in every dispute that we have amongst ourselves. There should be a way to mitigate and reduce those frictions that we have in our community and learn how to de-escalate, do conflict resolution, and be able to implement a solution that will minimize those things from happening again. Whatever the issue may be in the community. It could be crime, drugs, gangs, it could be poverty, whatever it is, there should be a way that we can resolve it amongst ourselves instead of always involving law enforcement or corrupt politicians. All right. This reduces unnecessary escalation while strengthening communal responsibility, right? And the contributions to Reconstruction is reduce social fragmentation, lower conflict escalation, greater trust in justice systems, and increased civic participation. Contingencies, oversight councils, transparent proceedings, multi-person review systems, and legal advisory partnerships. All right, let me give you one more. Covenant land trust. Scriptural foundation, Leviticus 25, Numbers 36, and Ezekiel 47. The Torah principle: land is stewardship, not permanent exploitation. Why do we choose it? The Black community has historically suffered from redlining, displacement, predatory housing, and the loss of generational land ownership. Why is this effective? Land trusts protect neighborhoods from speculative investors, rapid gentrification, and displacement cycles. The land remains tied to community stewardship, contribution to Reconstruction, housing stability, generational wealth, community continuity, and economic security. Contingencies, legal trust protections, collective ownership models, and community veto systems on land sales and long-term stewardship charters. That means once we own the land, we can create a system within our community that can veto any additional external existential systems that are attempting to remove us from the land, buy us off the land, etc. So let me pause right here. All right, I'm going to jump into this last point, and then I'm going to move from this. All right, the last point of this is going to be the rubric that we use to measure success. This is very important. So I'm holding on this, and then we're going to segue away from this. And this is why this needs to be installed. Okay, this is what we're doing, KHM. And Yah forbid, if anything happens to me, I need y'all to take this and take off with it. Take it and take off. Right. So listen, right, because it shouldn't have relied just on me. The Covenant Public Accountability Rubric. We call that CPAR. Scriptural Foundation, Deuteronomy 16:20, Habakkuk 2:2, Numbers 32 and 33, and Proverbs 11 and 14. The Torah principle: justice and stewardship must be measurable, visible, and accountable before the people. This is why when you read Deuteronomy chapter 17, the king himself has to have the Torah next to him, so he's not above his brethren. We need to know what it is he's following and hold him accountable to it. It needs to be public. It needs to be able to be audited. But let's go on. In Torah governance, leaders were not meant to rule through secrecy or private control. Public accountability was essential for maintaining trust, preventing corruption, and ensuring that the community could visibly measure whether justice and righteousness were actually being practiced. The CSRM applies this principle through a transparent system called the Covenant Public Accountability Rubric. What it is? CPAR is the public measurement framework used to track economic growth, housing stability, educational progress, health outcomes, justice outcomes, leadership performance, and community wellness year over year. If you're part of KHM and we're implementing this, you will have access to this so you can see how various communities and various chapters are implementing the CSRM and see what the success and failure points of these things are, see where you can help to contribute to refine it, make it better, and everything is auditable. Why it exists. Well, actually, let me do this. Every community operating under CSRM is measured using clear benchmarks so people can visibly see what is improving, what is failing, and what must be corrected. Why it exists. Historically, many Black movements and organizations privatized information, centralized leadership, lack measurable metrics, and rely too heavily on charisma and symbolism. As a result, communities often cannot verify progress. Corruption went unnoticed. Outside narratives controlled perception, and successful systems became vulnerable to collapse, sabotage, and distortion. So if leadership is privatizing and hiding information from the adherents of the movement, that's what I'm talking about. From the adherents of the movement, then when that movement fails or other entities upend and uproot that movement, now they can create a narrative because they say, oh, look, they kept this secret, they kept that secret, they kept this secret. But transparency is a weapon. You can use that to defend yourself. That's why I said, look, transparency has to be one of the best contingencies we have in the event that something happens. As a result, communities could not verify progress, but also successful systems became vulnerable to collapse, sabotage, and distortion. The CSRM was intentionally designed to avoid these historical weaknesses. CPAR exists because what cannot be measured cannot be defended, replicated, or sustained. Okay? We chose it because the Black community has experienced generations of broken promises, performative leadership, symbolic politics, and movements without measurable continuity. CPAR was chosen to ensure honesty, clarity, accountability, and institutional maturity. Instead of relying on emotion alone, CSRM relies on measurable outcomes, transparent reporting, and public participation. This helps the community because, in regards to housing and land stability, home ownership rates, be able to see land trust expansion and anti-displacement metrics. It also tracks the economic development, cooperative business growth, local wealth circulation, and employment rates to make sure that these things are enhanced and increasing within the places in which the CSRM is implemented. Justice and safety, conflict resolution success, reduce incarceration dependency, and community trust metrics, health and wellness, mental health indicators, stress reduction, food access, and nutrition. We measure all these things in all the places in which this is working. We're going to start first with our chapters and expand out a little bit more to the local communities in which those chapters exist in the cities that they are trying to, again, reform. How does it extend to education, leadership development? We get to see that these leaders in these places, how many stages or phases have they gone through maturing within the system and understanding it from front to back, that they're able to apply it effectively and proficiently. Graduation and appreciation rates, civic participation. Family and community stability. How? Family retention, because that's very important. We want to make sure there's an increase in familyhood, that families stay together. That's very important. Volunteer participation and community engagement, all right? Why transparency is strategic. Listen to this. One of the biggest reasons movements failed in the past is because systems became too private, leadership became insulated, and communities cannot independently verify progress. Transparency is protection. Public accountability prevents corruption, weakens false accusations, builds public trust, and makes external attacks less effective. When systems are open, measurable, and visible, people can defend them, improve them, and replicate them. Transparency becomes both a governance tool and a resilience strategy. I'm gonna stop right there. A lot of times we want to come on here and we want to look at these teachings from the scriptures and all of that. But when it comes to an actual system, when we talk about nation building, ninjas don't know how to nation build. I'm giving you the blueprint. This is how we nation build. And again, we're not looking for a degree of prosperity that allows us to overthrow the system that's here. Overthrowing whatever's happening, corrupt or not, is not our job. That's Yah's job. Our job is to get all of those of us who are the righteous remnant together so we can be autonomous, so we can wait out these judgments. We need to have our Goshens and we need to have our refuge cities established so that we can apply these things. This is going to teach us kingdom etiquette. This will allow us to worship Yah in a way that we haven't before, because before, or even currently now, there's too many hindrances, too many obstacles, too many obstructions. We're removing the societal ill so our people can worship Yah the way he intended, and that is with a pure heart and a pure mind. So that's why this needs to be repeatable. There's nothing like this that we've ever seen in the Black community, let alone the Israelite community. So when brothers and sisters say we nation building, I'm saying how? How are you doing it? What's your blueprint? Teach me. If it's good, I'll share it and I'll help what I can. But a lot of us don't care about when the camera goes off. But we got to suffer from the same things. So we go ahead, we talk all this deep stuff like it's going to change something. It may help you with your spiritual growth, obviously, right? In your knowledge and understanding. But once the camera goes off, you're still facing these societal ills. When you're supposed to be building houses and living in them, plant vineyards and eat from them. This is all autonomy. Marry your sons and daughters amongst yourselves, increase and do not decrease. And pray for the welfare or the shalom of the city. Interpose on its behalf before Yah, like Abraham did for Lot. For in its peace, you shall have peace. We need refuge cities. Where's our black sites if we get chased down by white supremacy? Where's the lawyer unions that we have to defend us in the event that we are redlined in our communities? That we are displaced from our communities? Black folk can't fight gentrification. We did it out here in Atlanta. That was part of one of those attempts that really didn't go too far because we had white constituents in the community that was relying on gentrification in order for their property values to go up, who actually had the finances and the leverage over politicians to prevent Greenhaven from being successful. However, South Fulton and Stonecrest have been successful in preventing gentrification. See, I'm looking at all these systems locally and abroad, what works and what does not. And what works is there a Torah principle for it. It's no Torah principle for it. I'm not going to work with it. If there is a Torah principle for it, I'm going to say, let's put it in the blueprint. This is the stuff that we need to be studying in schools. I have a whole curriculum, a whole college curriculum, and I have one for K to 12 to teach all the principles that's in this covenant social reconstruction model. Because you got to get educated on it first, go through a course before you can even apply it. So that'll be the next thing that's a requirement for our KHM members. But we cannot do this by ourselves. We need your help. If you sign up, you can play a part in all of this. Even your knowledge of this, you can look for ways to implement this in your respective cities or even towns. Some of y'all don't even live in cities. Some of y'all live in small towns or suburbs or rural areas. This is what's going to bring us together. All right. So thank you for allowing me the time to let y'all know really how seriously KHM cares about the community and wants to apply Torah to our immediate community to resolve the societal ills that you face and experience day to day. We offer programs, services, and products to alleviate these societal ills. And we just need your help and patronage. So those who have supported already, thank you. I appreciate it. And now we can get to our regularly scheduled program. All right. Now, with that being said, this is the part that most of y'all only care about, but it's okay. The ones who know and have the ears to hear, they know what's being said is something that is immediate and want to get involved. So if you want to sign up for KHM so you can help us implement this, click the link in the description below or email us at kingdomharbinger@gmail.com and let us know you want to be a part of the Kingdom Harbinger Ministries chapter initiative and the CSRM, and we will lock you in. And then we have videos down below to show you the overview of what KHM is, the benefit, the immediate benefits you get for signing up, and the obligations that we require for you to get involved in so you can help be a part of this solution. All right. So with that being said, let me share the link one more time because, I'll probably said some stuff that people disagree with, and I'm okay with that. And again, we're not trying to build a kingdom here. That's not our job. Our job is to create these Goshens to wait out the judgments so we can meet Yah with the proper and appropriate kingdom etiquette. Matter of fact, this is something that Yeshua taught. Let me show it to you. Let me show it to you. Okay, let's go to Matthew chapter 22. I'm going to show you something real quick. Let's go to Matthew 22. Let's start at verse 1. And again, Yeshua spoke to them in parables, saying, the kingdom of heaven may be compared to a king who gave a wedding feast for his son and sent his servants to call those who were invited to the wedding feast, but they would not come. Again, he sent other servants saying, tell those who are invited, see, I have prepared my dinner. My oxen and my fat calves have been slaughtered and everything is ready. Come to the wedding feast. But they paid no attention and went off, one to his farm, another to his business, while the rest seized his servants, treated them shamefully, and killed them. The king was angry, and he sent his troops and destroyed those murderers and burned their city. Then he said to his servants, the wedding feast is ready, but those invited were not worthy. Go therefore to the main roads and invite to the wedding feast as many as you find. And those servants went out into the roads and gathered all whom they found, both bad and good. So the wedding hall was filled with guests. Watch this. But when the king came in to look at the guests, he saw there a man who had no wedding garment. And he said to him, friend, how did you get in here without a wedding garment? And he was speechless. Then the king said to the attendants, bind him hand and foot and cast him into the outer darkness. In that place, there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth, for many are called, but few are chosen. How do you get chosen? When you learn kingdom etiquette. That's what we teach here. When we get you back into your culture, when you go into these scriptures, we're teaching you kingdom etiquette. So if you are called by Yah, remember, there's a purging. Once we are regathered, there's a purging process that's going to get rid of the 2/3. The 1/3 are only going to survive because they know kingdom etiquette. And that 1/3, once we're purged through that wilderness process, then we will be replanted into the land. So all Israel will be saved. We'll have the opportunity for salvation outside of this. What we do here matters, and our stance and our understanding when we get to that collection point. But if you don't have the kingdom etiquette as second nature in you, you're going to get purged out. And then Yah's going to take the remnant and situate them in the land, establish his kingdom with that remnant. You have to learn kingdom etiquette. Okay. All right. Let's see what we got going on in here, man. Let's see. Any you can ask questions, let me know. I do, brother. One servant, text me, bro. Text me and let's talk. I appreciate you, King. KHM is in the building all day, every day. You already know. It does, Yaakov. I thank you for seeing that, my brother. I appreciate you for that. All right, Shabbat Shalom. Let me get some shout outs. Kazakya, Yasharal, Shalom, Yahosef, Ben Yisrael, Shalom, Wayne 144K, Shalom, Apothecary Custom, Shalom, Sister Navi Yah, Shalom, long time no see as well. AJ Bethea. Well, hold on. AJ, my brother from another mother. Yo, this bro is all over the discussions I'm having on TikTok. Brother, I appreciate your support. Man, he's there while I'm up early in the morning, 2, 3, 4 o'clock, going through these conversations, or if it's somewhat to the day. I don't know how, brother, you're able to follow everything, but I appreciate your support on TikTok. This brother is there on TikTok with all these conversations. I don't know if you was there for the Jehovah's Witness conversation, AJ. Let me know if you was, but that was a wild one. Shout out to Dita Star, loves y'all. Shalom, sis. Jaslyn Berry, shalom. Good to see y'all up in here. Ice Shoe Code and the building. What's up, Desmond? JB 96740, shalom. Scott Garrett Headley in the building, shalom. Daywalker 7, shalom. What's going on? Feed the Spirit 5, shalom. Chosen Cuts by Ty, shalom. What's going on? Michael is blind, shalom. Mr. Jeshuan, shalom. Stacks, shalom. Nilante, shalom. King, what's this? Yahad Ben Israel, shalom. Let me see. I can get the shout outs first, and I can probably go back over this. Yosef Wayman, shalom. Dark Side, shalom. Let me see. That's crazy. Gavin Miller, shalom. Jerry Jackson, shalom. Let me see. Wait, what? Hey yo, Larry, hit that link, bro. Larry, hit that link, my G. Yeah, that link was customized specifically for you. Hit that link. I'm gonna drop it in here again for you. This is for my brother Larry. Space that up in there. All right. Shalom to Yakub 27. Shachor, the young lion. Shalom. Let me see. I wholeheartedly agree, my brother. Facts. Let's see. Shout out to Jaslyn Berry. Oh, I said shout out to Jaslyn Berry. I'm sorry about that, but no, double honors to Jaslyn. Shalom. Truth Seeker, shalom. Let me see. Who else we got in? HaKodesh Management, DB. What's going on, King? Thank you for joining us. Get Wise, getting wiser every day. Shalom, King. You love Yah. Shalom. Let me see. Family Still Yo, shout out to Family Still Matters. Go sign up for the elders page. I learned so much information in there. She gives great insight. This is why we need elders to still guide our community. I love her channel. I've binge watched tons of videos on there. Shout out to Family Still Matters. Please support her channel, man. Excellent channel, man. Well needed in the community. Let me see. K Israel, shalom. AZ Bound 3, shalom. Let me see. Who else we got in here? Ronald Pierre, 1963, shalom. It has been a while, brother. It's been a while. That brother has my first name and my middle name. It's crazy work. Let's see. A Nelson, shalom. All right, shalom. All right. Yeah, that was AJ was in there, man. Shout out to Hebrew Nabi, man. He be all over the place as well on TikTok. He be tuning in to some of my stuff. And shout out to those of you who I don't even know that's there. You know what I mean? Thank you for the support. Shout out to Ryan Harrison building shalom to you as well. Of course, you are an elder, and I respect you, and I appreciate your content. I wish more elders in our community would put out content similar to this to help with our internal growth. You know what I'm saying? Understanding the things that are happening in the community by means of examining content that's out there in the secular realm and showing how what's being said there is showcasing the schisms, issues, internal conflicts that we experience within our community and how to heal those things. All praises. All praises. All right, let's see. I think I got everybody. Hey, who kicked your butt? The Holy Spirit is still responsible. Let me give you an example, my brother. HaKodesh Management. I'm going to show you. Listen, I'm going to show you. Watch this. All of these things can be reconciled, but I'm going to show you. Watch this. I'm going to get this here. I'm going to get Genesis chapter 18. We're going to go to Genesis chapter 22, I believe. So let's get Genesis 18 first. Genesis 18. I'm going to show you this. All right, let me share my screen. All right, Genesis 18. Hold on 1 second. 1 second, y'all. All right, cool. So let's get down here. All right, this is Genesis chapter 18, and we're going to start at verse 9. All right, this is when Yahweh, and Yahweh is represented by 3 individuals, not the Trinity. They said to him, where's Sarah, your wife? And he said, she is in the tent. Verse 10 says, Yahweh said, I will surely return to you about this time next year, and Sarah, your wife, will have a son. And Sarah was listening at the tent door behind him. Verse 11, now Abraham and Sarah were old, advanced in years. The way of women had ceased to be with Sarah. What is the way of women? Her nidah. So Sarah laughed to herself, saying, after I am worn out and my Lord is old, shall I have pleasure? You're talking about doing the thing. You already know, right? And having a baby as a result of that, right? Yahweh said to Abraham, why did Sarah laugh and say, shall I indeed bear a child now that I am old? Is anything too hard for Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh? At the appointed time, I will return to you about this time next year, and Sarah shall have a son. This is Yahweh speaking. These representative messengers are speaking on behalf of Yahweh. So then what happens? Let's take a look. All right, verse 21. Verse 1. Then Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh visited Sarah as he had said, and Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh did to Sarah as he had promised. And Sarah conceived and bore Abraham a son in his old age at the time of which God had spoken to him. So what are we learning from this? Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh is representative as the Pneuma or the Ruach that visited the womb of Sarah and allows it to open and conceive. So with Miriam, her womb was visited, and it was visited because Yah had to make preparations for the provision, his presence, and his protection with the thing in her womb that will become the Messiah, and it involved Joseph doing the do like Abraham did with Sarah. That's the Holy Spirit's intercession in the process. Now, the rest of the narrative, they always bring that up and say, oh, what about this? This reads similar to what's in the Greek. Yes, but you're missing some things. You're missing verse 18, 16 to 18, and then you're missing all the way verses 24 and 25. You're missing all of that stuff. But they don't want to consider that. But that's how the Holy Spirit is involved. Let's go to Matthew chapter 1. Let me show you this real quick. And again, this is the Greek text, and the Greek text does teach the virgin birth, unfortunately. However, according to textual critical standards or criticism standards, you have the difficult reading and the short reading that favors the Syriac text in this instance. So it should be the preferred text. But nonetheless, verse 16, and Jacob, the father of Joseph, the husband of Mary, of whom Jesus was born, who is called Christ. This is associating the beginning of Jesus, so the bringing forth of Jesus, to Miriam in the Greek. However, in the Syriac, it's Olad. When it says, and he begat Jesus. Who? Well, the pronoun he is attached to Olad. He's the one that brought forth Jesus, not Miriam. If it was Miriam, it'd be the feminine pronoun, but it's not in the Syriac. And again, when Agnes Smith, when she saw this, she was like, whoa, this looks completely different from what the Greek says. Yes, it does. It's preserving those Jewish Christians, one of their tenets, which is, in order for the Messiah to be born, he came by way like all his other brethren, but he was set apart in the womb. See, that's the difference. The prophet spoken over him, and his purpose set him apart in the womb. He's not a mere man, because he is a unique individual without spot and without blemish. So that way he could be martyred on behalf of Israel and bring Israel back to the Father and get them back into alignment with Yah's will and his way for his people. And then they'll say here, this is verse 18. Now the birth of Jesus Christ took place in this way. When his mother Mary had been betrothed to Joseph, before they came together, she was found to be with child from the Holy Spirit. Well, it says before they came together, right? Yes. But when you look at this term, before they came together, let me show it to y'all. Got to see these things, man. I'm going to take this a little bit and go through it a little bit with y'all. We can move from there. But when it says, having been pledged, married to Joseph, before coming together, Sunelthine. We're going to take a look at Sunelthine. We're going to take a look at it, right? It comes from Suner Komai, right? And this is to accompany, assemble, come together, come, company, go, with, resort. They say, oh, because of the context, this means that they're having intercourse. And I'm like, no, this is talking about what happens. They're not coming together when they're engaged. They don't come together when you're engaged, because then the man becomes the head of household and a woman is under the head of household. And this happens after the marriage ceremony. In this case, they are engaged. So there's no fully coming together. Joseph has to continue to raise the bride price and pay it to Miriam's father. He has to also prepare a place for her to live with him and all the other things that come along with that. But when you look to see how this breaks down, in Matthew chapter 1 and verse 18, they came together, she was found. That's the only place you found that, right? Before they came together, before they co-inhabited together, she was found with child, the Holy Spirit. Mark 3 and 20, and the crowd gathered together. Is the crowd having an orgy? No, that's not what's happening. Mark 14:53, and the scribes gathered together. Are they having intercourse? I hope not. This is not what that means. Luke 5 and 15, the crowds were gathering to hear. Luke 22 and 55, who had come with him out of Galilee. John 11:33, and the Jews who came together with her also. John 18:20, the Jews came together. Acts 1 and 6, when they had come together. Acts 1:21, that of the men who have accompanied us, because it was together. Acts 2 and 6, and the crowd came together. Of Jerusalem were coming together. See all these references? This is not, the majority of the references in almost all cases, I think with the exception of a reference in Paul. Remember, Pauline epistles is a different Christological approach than what we find in the Gospels. Just keep that in mind. And so is his uses of words and the syntax in which he says a lot of idiomatic phrases and quotation that he uses, right? Here in 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 17 is where they take it and they say, oh, this right here. So let's take a look at that. 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 17 and 18. And we're going to see if this has to do with that, doing the do. But in the following instructions, I do not commend you, because when you came together, it is not for the better, but for the worse. For in the first place, when you come together as a church, wait, is this Paul saying? See, gotcha. Is this Paul saying anything about intimacy? No, it's not saying nothing about intimacy. It has to do with cohabitating, being together, coming together as a crowd, accompanying one another. That's why the great passage right there, where it says accompany and assembled right here, gathered, assembled, accompany, that is what the word means. So it's talking about something culturally as it pertains to a man and woman coming together. And I did a whole video on what the actual marriage ritual and ceremony is supposed to look like. You can find it. It's on Patreon, it's on YouTube. You can check it out. Right? So having the fact that they did not come together, they did not cohabitate. He was not called her Baal. How do we get that? Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 22. Deuteronomy chapter 22. If any man takes a wife and goes into her and then hates her, let's take a look at this, verse 13. And this is, if any man, ki yika ish isha, if any man takes a woman, a man and a woman, there's no terms such as husband and wife in the Hebrew or the Greek. It's the context that implies it. Okay, let's go down further. If a man is found lying with another man's wife, let's take a look at this, right? Take a look. So we have, if a man, an ish yokev im isha betulat baal. See, the husband is called a baal. See that? A baal. What is a baal? It's after they have came together and they're married, and the woman is now in the household of the man who is now the head of that household. Once that process is established, the man is considered the Baal, the head of household. That's when he becomes the husband. If that does not take place, then that marriage relationship is not fully complete. This is what we get when we look at Matthew chapter 1, especially from the OSS. This is what it's teaching. Verse 19, and her husband Joseph, being a just man and unwilling to put her to shame, resolved to divorce her quietly. Divorces are not done quietly. If you divorce somebody quietly, then you could have another person caught up, and people assuming and thinking that you're not together when actually you're divorced. Divorces are done openly, and that's a reason for that. If you continue to read Deuteronomy chapter 22 and 23, you'll be able to see, 22 to 24, you'll be able to see why that's the case. So what's going on here? Whoa, I can't bring her under my household now because we did the thing. A child was born. So if I send her back to her father's house until we get this resolved, and once it gets resolved, then we can go follow it from there. Now, there's a lot of other details that I need to explain in that, but I'm going to suffice it for now. And I'll save it for the conversation, but I've broken this down several times on this channel. But watch this. But as he considered these things, and again, if he was a just man, he would divorce her publicly. And he considered these things. So the key thing is, what does the word of divorce there mean? Did he mean he's going to divorce her in a sense like we're never going to be together? Or does that have to do with separation until the issue gets resolved? Well, that doesn't mean he did anything wrong, because technically when you are engaged, the same penalties that married couples get, you get. And if you decide, if you engage to come together, that woman has to be your wife, according to what Exodus 21 says. So this is all within scope of Israelite culture. All right. It says, Joseph, son of David, do not fear to take Mary as your wife, for that which is conceived in her is from the Holy Spirit. Didn't we read that in Genesis chapter 21? Let's go look at that again. Let's see someone being conceived by Yahweh by means of intercourse. Genesis 21 and verse 1. Yahweh visited Sarah as he had said, and Yahweh did to Sarah. See that? How does he do stuff to Sarah? He does his acts and his works via his Ruach, his spirit. Did to Sarah as he had promised, and Sarah conceived. So that thing that was conceived in Sarah was by way of who? Yahweh. Even though she and him copulated. Okay. She shall bear a son, and you shall call his name Yeshua, for he will save his people from their sins. She will bear a son. That's interesting. So will, this is future tense, just so you can hear. And he will save his people from their sins. All this took place to fulfill what Yah had spoken, or Adon had spoken, or Kurios had spoken by the prophet or Navi. Behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel. Well, when this version, quote unquote, Parthenos, is being used in the Greek here, but it's Alman Hebrew, when this took place in Isaiah 7, that wasn't an unprecedented event in Isaiah 7. That was a woman who came together with a man because their union was assigned to Ahaz. In this case, the union of Yosef and Miriam by way of the Ruach is a sign to Israel that what? His name is going to be called Emmanuel, to show that the presence of Yahweh or Yahweh, or some say Yahuwah, is still with his people in the 1st century CE in Roman occupied Judea. And then the rest of them, when Yosef woke from his sleep, he did as the angel of the Lord commanded him. He took his wife. She just transitioned to his wife. That's super fast. But knew her not until she had given birth to a son. This part right here, but knew her not until, this is not in the OSS. This right here is adding or interpolating what the original text was, which is going to be a much shorter rendering, which the OSS preserves. And he shall call his name Jesus or Jesus, or in this case, Yeshua. And the ah sound in Yeshua is really an ayin guttural, but that's a whole nother conversation. But what I just want to demonstrate and show you here is that there's a way to work through this, even in the Greek, in contradiction to what the OSS says, and bring out which one has the weightier rendering. All right. Okay. So let me fall back on that. I could take maybe one or two, and then I definitely will have to go. Shout out to Hashem Zedek, Shalom, Ara 29, Shalom King, what's going on? Let me see. I think I covered everybody. Okay. All right, let me see. Anytime. Okay. I asked on your previous live how you corroborate that the word world in John 3:16 refers to Israel, but you were wrapping up the live. If you get a chance, can you briefly touch on that? All right, let's go into this. Now, let me say this. I actually do address that for you. So I'm gonna, and I think I told you this, JB, that I did a whole lecture on this, the one about human sacrifice for the atonement of sin in the Bible. In that lecture, I bring it out. So let me go get that lecture for you. I'll get you that lecture so you can see. And I give it in full detail in there. All right, let me show you. Let me bring it up. I'm going to share it in the chat for you. And I'm going to go to the part where I deal with that. Because remember, cosmos literally means something that is arranged. Sometimes it can refer to the material universe. Sometimes it could be an arrangement. Let me show it to you. I'm going to share this with you real quick. Let me give it to you. Here's the link right here. And let me get you the time marker. So I'm going to share it on my screen. It's my video, so you can't copyright strike me for my own content. But I'm going to show you this. I'm going to share this real quick. And everyone should watch this lecture. Everyone.
After the capital offense, you get judged. And after your judgment, there's a capital punishment. We're going to see why they want to do that, because
I go into entrap.
I'll give it to the people.
Ooh, I said some stuff in here. All
results in the punishment.
Or what?
To the martyrdom complex situation of Yeshua.
This is why when you get into the mindset of Torah Tanakh, you understand with. Go ahead.
Example, a redemption price.
If we let him go on like this, all men will believe in him. And but a couple days before that, the 7th of this month, they are to each one take a lamb for themselves. All of this falsehood family. By his blood, we're gonna see that.
Here it is.
Let's deal with two literary devices so we can start understanding all of this. The first one is figurative language. Read that, Frank. Say it again. Have an insurance policy. For 1 Peter 1:18. Now this Peter saying this, or Cephas.
I think I did that. Let me see.
Inducted into the priesthood that he initiated to regather Israel, so that way no
Simile, illusion.
Right after this.
Cosmetics on. Am I telling you the whole universe on face? I mean, she might look that beautiful.
Let me go back to this. Here it is. Here's your answer.
Exactly or nearly the same as another word or phrase in the same language.
Hey, hit one if you can hit a video. Hit one if you can hit the video.
Having the same sense as another, end quote.
All right. Synonyms.
Thank you so much.
These are synonyms.
I
Watch
appreciate
this.
it.
G2889, cosmos. And you hear a lot of times Christians use that he died for the whole world, right?
Right.
Yeah, right.
Let's get into this language. We're going to see what's going on. Cosmos is one, an act in harmonious arrangement or constitution. What? Or government. Okay. Any aggregate or general collection of particulars of any sort. Cosmos literally something ordered. So it doesn't always mean the universe or the world is something that's being arranged. Okay. Properly and what? An ordered system like the universe or creation. Doesn't mean it is. It's like it. If I told a woman to go put some cosmetics on, am I telling her to put the whole universe on her face? I mean, she might look that beautiful. She might not. Depends. But the point I'm trying to make is, it doesn't just mean I'm talking about the universe. You gotta go back to the root word cosmos, arrangement, constitution, order, government, ordered system.
Just like 12 disciples. Just like 40 days of temptation. Just like The 12 disciples ruling over the 12 tribes of Israel. These are all ordered systems, arranged systems.
The English term cosmetic is derived from this, and the order also means an ensemble. Root word, probably from the base comizo, which means to carry, bear, bring to carry away from oneself, to carry off with one own, to bring back, to receive, obtain the promised blessing. So that can't be the whole world. The whole world is not going to subscribe to have the promised blessing, but it comes through the blood from those who from Abraham. Okay, wait. Get in here. To receive what was previously one's own, to get back, receive back the covenant, so that Israel lost their covenant with the Most High, but somebody's bringing it back. Okay, the story. Now the carrier. I wish y'all could see this. Hold on. Let's get to the second one. Taxis. This is the other one that we see. Order of Melchizedek. Watch this. Taxis, a feminine noun derived from 5021 tasso, to arrange. What? To arrange or order. That's a synonym? Wait, properly an arrangement, a brand of ordering, placing one member over another in rank, approval, etc. Now it comes from this root word. It is from taxis, which means an orderly array, was a military term in ancient Greece and thus used as a ready metaphor in Paul's conversation with the soldiers in his confinement. Taxis, as an ancient military term, describes an ordered troop of cohorts arranged in descending rank. Watch this. The term suggests a detailed ordering rather than simply a general disposition of an army. Order. You see order here, cosmos, the world, but what is this world? The taxis order. Wait, let's go back.
Show it to them.
Wait, hold on. Did y'all get that? Who takes away the sin of the order, for Elohim so loved the order, and gave his life. And it jumps down to say, where Yahshua has entered as a foreign force, becoming a high priest forever according to the order of Melchizedek. Okay. I don't know if y'all get this. We almost there.
Take us to the promised land.
Tasso, this is the root that it comes from. Properly arranged, put in order, to place in a particular order, appoint, figuratively ordained, set in place, to station, place in position, post, was commonly used in ancient military language for designating, appointing, commissioning. Okay. Are y'all following? A specific status, i.e. arranging, placing in a deliberate fixed order. Let's read this. Read that, Frank. We're going to see what's going on, Frank. Read that, Frank.
Matthew 28:16. But the 11 disciples proceeded to the mountain which Yahshua had ordered.
Had what?
Ordered.
Arranged them. Okay, look. Let's slow down, Frank. He said, I'm going to come die for the sins of the world. He's talking about an order. And the order he's talking about is that of Melchizedek. It's a priesthood system that he was arranging them for. Okay. I think y'all missed that.
We're going to become priests.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you're under
I'm a pause that right there. Y'all go and support the channel. Go check out the video. All right. Check out the lecture this weekend if you can. It's called Capital Punishment, Human Sacrifice for the Atonement of Sin in the Bible. All right. Now, this is a 3-hour and 47-minute lecture. So you may want to watch it in chunks because it's pretty lengthy, but there's a ton of information in there. A lot of stuff that I share with you 8 years later, because I did this 8 years ago, you can still find in all my older lectures. That's why there's not a lot of lectures on subjects like this that I would do today, because I've already done it in the past extensively, right? So I'm just reminding you of that. So my brother JB, if you want to get the full answer to that, because I just showed you a snippet from my video, go check out the lecture. Okay. All right. Let's see. If you're not convinced, click the link. Here you go. Here's the link, Bible topics. Huge leaps of assumptions. Click the link. Appreciate it. It's probably number 4 the queue, Daywalker. I got you, King. I got you, no doubt. I could probably do a lesson on that. That is something I would do a lecture on, because I never lectured about that before. But that is definitely something I could do a lecture on. All right. Professor Juve Is that your name?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. And
Okay.
you are from the chat. Are you Bible Topics?
Yes, correct.
All right, got it. All right, so we got about 20 or so minutes to do this.
You have what?
20 or so minutes to have the conversation. Can you hear me, brother?
Okay, yes. I can. Now, just I was moving around, so I can hear.
Okay,
Go ahead.
good. No problem. All right, so here we go. Please express to us what your position is on what was just shared so we can understand where the point of contention lies. And then from there, we can explicate our position.
Makes sense. To me, Bible is its own dictionary. It defines what it's talking about, either some verses above or some verses below. You can just follow the context and you get what it's talking about. For people to get outside the Bible and bring definitions out, that's actually counter-biblical. The Bible says, believe as it is written, and therefore speak. That teaches you not to speak or teach other things that are not in that book itself. If it's not there, it's very hard to convince me that, that's the logic we should follow. Add something outside the Bible to make the Bible make sense.
Okay, so you are aware that you need information outside the Bible to make the Bible make sense. You are aware that the translators of whatever translation that you're using needed to consult information outside the Bible to render the translation that you are reading today. You are aware of that, right?
Example?
Okay, so what translation do you read?
I used to read King James, but then I found some mistakes there, so now I'm looking to Geneva, or
so use the Geneva Bible. Okay,
yeah,
I got you.
Geneva, or there's another one I forgot. The Cliff.
You have the Tyndale Bible, Geneva, Bishop's Bible, Pilgrim's Bible. These are all English translations, right?
No, the Cliff Bible.
Okay, got it. So, have you read the preface and the introduction, the translator's notes, and the appendices of that Bible, that translation that you're reading? I have. Have you read it?
What did it say?
It tells you what the sources that they use in order to interpret and translate the text.
Can you show me just so I can know what you're talking about?
I'll pull it up for you. Sure. Do you have that physical Bible there with you?
It's underneath there. It's pretty big, so it's very old and big, so it's gonna take a while to get it out.
Okay, so I'm going to let me share the screen because I'm going to show this to you.
Yeah, that work.
Yep, no problem. All right, and maybe a little small, so let me see if I can.
Let me close the it's bothering my eyes. The light is too bright. Let me close it behind me.
Sure.
One second.
Okay, let me know when you're ready, brother. And the focus I want to get on is this second.
All right.
Yeah.
And what book is that?
This is not a book, brother. This is the preface.
Geneva. Okay, got it. I just saw the title. It's the title.
Oh, you good, King. So that means if you do have the Bible there with you, you must read the preface. You must read the introduction, and you must read the translator's notes. And then at the end is an appendix that you need to read as well. There's also footnotes in it that you have to read as well. And they tell you whether they have difficulties with a certain passage, what a particular word means. You typically get this in a translation that has the commentator's notes from the translator. Right? King James also has an edition with that as well. And a lot of people don't care to read, right? But here, I'm going to read this for you. First, what they're doing is they're explaining to you in their preface their intention that is driving this translation. All right. Now, a lot of this Not talking about textual criticism, looking at outside sources. They're just giving you their mission statement as to why they're putting this together, right? What I want to jump, and you can read that another time. There's a lot to read, but I want to jump down real quick and start reading this part, right? Now, as we have chiefly observed the sense and the labored ways, always to restore it in all integrity, so have we most reverently kept the proprietary of the words, considering that the apostles who spake and wrote to the Gentiles in the Greek tongue rather constrained them to the lively phrase of the Hebrew than enterprise, far by mollifying their language to speak as the Gentiles did. And for this and other causes, we have in many places reserved the Hebrew phrases, notwithstanding that they may seem somewhat hard in their ears, that are not well practiced, and also delight in the sweet sounding phrases of the Holy Scriptures. Yes, lest either the simple should be discouraged or the malicious have an occasion of just cavillation, seeing some translations read after one sort and some after another, whereas all may serve to good purpose and edification. We have in the margin noted that diversity of speech or reading, which may also seem agreeable to the mind of the Holy Ghost and proper for our language within this mark. This is talking about the process of interpretation. They have maintained Hebrew phrases. It was called a formal equivalency translation, a translation that follows word for word, meaning that an idiom, if you read it word for word in Hebrew, may not make any sense in English. Just like if I read an English idiom like Sally kicked the bucket, and I told somebody in a foreign language that's learning English, hey, Sally kicked the bucket. They're going to be like, okay, so why is everybody dressed in black and going to a funeral? Because that means she died. So they maintained those idiomatic phrases, which means they examined the Hebrew and made a decision to maintain Hebrew phrases. And they also went into the Greek tongue of the Gentiles. They examined the Greek of the New Testament, and the places where there's Aramaisms or Hebrewisms, they decided to maintain that instead of directly thought for thought translating, meaning that translating the idiom in a way that the recipient who's reading this would understand. So they're doing several textual criticism, examining the language, and making decisions on how to translate certain things. Brother, you need tools and you need a methodology that's outside of scripture in order to put a translation together. Let's go again. Whereas the Hebrew speech seemed hardly to agree with ours, we have noted it in the margin after this sort. Do you know what the margin is, brother? You know, they have marginal lines where they put notes and stuff in and their perspectives on things and their commentary on things. They did this with the Geneva Bible. Now, I don't know if your version is stripped of that, but in the Geneva Bible, these are things that they did. Why? Because using that which was more intelligible, and albeit that many of the Hebrew names be altered from the old text and restored to the true writing and first original, whereof they had their signification. Yet in the usual names, little was changed for fear of troubling the simple readers. They didn't want simple readers to be confused with all of the complex items behind the Hebrew speech and language. So they made a decision to simplify certain things in the common, generic, or colloquial language of the day. They made a decision through their translation process. I'm trying to show you this, brother. Moreover, whereas the necessity of the sentence require anything to be added, for such is the grace and propriety of the Hebrew and Greek tongues, that it cannot be either by circumlocution. That means you say a whole bunch of things to confuse somebody when you can simply just say it in one or two words or a sentence. That's circumlocution. Or by adding the verb or some word be understand of them that are not well practiced therein. That means I'm not going to translate something to you from the Hebrew and Greek in a vernacular in which you're not going to understand. We've never practiced the language. You never learned the language. We have put it in the text with another kind of letter that it may easily be discerned from the common letter. As touching the division of the verses, we have followed the Hebrew examples. Again, another decision on putting your Bible together, which have so even from the beginning distinct them. Which thing, as it is most profitable for memory, so doth it agree with the best translations. That means they're looking at what they did and they're examining other translations outside of their translations, and they're trying to meet somewhere in the middle. It's most easy to find out both by the best concordances. Concordance, wait, a concordance is not in the Bible. you're familiar with the Strong's Concordance. They reference concordances as well in their day. Brother, they're doing a whole bunch of stuff outside the Bible to put together your translation. And it goes on to say, and also by the quotations which we have diligently herein pursued and set forth by this star. Besides this, the principal matters are noted and distincted by this mark. You see this paragraph mark? It's going to be in a real Geneva Bible if you have one, because I have one right there in my library. You're going to see what this is, and it's going to be there in the Bible. What does it mean? Brother, if you don't read this preface, you're not going to know why they're putting those marks there. You probably had no clue about this, but let's keep going. Yea, and the arguments both for the book and for the chapters with the number of the verse are added. They're doing all these changes, making conscious decisions that by all means a reader might be hoping. For the which cause also we have set over the head of every page some notable word or sentence which may greatly further as well for memory, you know, like a heading before you get into the actual narrative of the text. That's what they're doing to your translation. They're making conscious decisions to do that by learning the language, the context, the history, and the culture behind it. These are things that they're utilizing. Looking at other translations and say, okay, how does our measure up against these translations? They're adding paragraph marks in your translation to indicate something. And they're telling you all of this in the preface. Now I can continue to go on, but they have annotations. They said, talking about reading of the best commentaries that they're examining information to interpret your translation. Brother, you got to read this whole thing, brother. And you're going to say that we should rely on anything outside of a translation? Brother, that is error. And I think, brother, that you should actually read the beginning of your Bible from front to back, not just what's translated in between.
Okay.
This is in your Bible. I didn't write this. So how do you feel about the translators of your Bible using all this methodology to put your translation together? How you feel about that?
The way, because when I started, wait, I'm hearing myself. What's going on? Okay, it's went away. When I started reading the Bible, I think the first one they gave me was because I was in Portugal. They gave me an Almeida, because I speak 5 languages, so they gave me Almeida translation. So I was reading that.
Okay.
That's when I first started reading the Bible. But then when I came here, they gave me an NIV, which is most popular. Immediately spotted some differences there. Immediately, you can just
wait. But pause right there. What were those differences and why?
When I researched it, why the differences, what I found is a legal loophole, which for you to be able to sell a book like that, you have to have at least 5%, 10% differences. So it's not a copyright issue. So that's what I saw in my research. So I'm like, okay.
Now you know the KJV is in the public domain. That means anybody can make a copy of it and print it. When the NIV was put together in the 80s, there was no copyright on the KJV. So if they wanted to reprint the KJV and, like you said, make a few changes, they could, but they did not do that. It's because they're using different manuscripts of Hebrew and Greek to support the NIV translation. Whereas the KJV used its own set of manuscripts that was based off the Textus Receptus, and they translated from that for the New Testament. So this is not somebody nefariously going into the text and saying, let me change this word, let me change that word so we can have a better or different translation to sell. They're using different manuscripts to translate from. Now, let me give you one last thing. Let me say this last thing, brother. I'm going to let you go.
Okay.
Any other Bible that you're reading in any other languages besides English, like the ones that you said that you natively learned, right, in your primary language, right? Do you know who's responsible for that translation of the Bible?
I made a guy, right? Most of them, before let me try to finish here.
You good, brother.
I realized there's two branches of it, right? One is from the, I forgot the name, but it's a very difficult name. The other one is from the rabbinic, like something rabbinic root. So there's two lines of it, translation. And to those 2 lines, branches of it, some branches come out of it, some other branches come out of it. But the one I end up trusting more, because all these differences, all this problem with it, was King James. I'm like, okay, this one is more similar to the Almeida translation. They're more like, but then when I saw I'm mistaking King James, I'm like, okay, this cannot be like, the pure word of God, because the Bible says not to even change, not even a dot or a parenthesis, not even to change any of that. Just leave it as it is. The Bible teaches that. So when you go outside the Bible and then bring something else to change to help me understand it better, as you think would make me understand better, that's you saying that you have better judgment than God. You can put it in a way that God didn't think about for me to understand it. So therefore, you're going to go and put all these things, these parentheses, these notations, change the words so I can understand it better. And then we end up with NIV. We end up with a New King James Version. We end up with things like that, which, you know, then the Muslims can grab it and say, look at this book, full of contradiction and errors. Your Bible is wrong. Your God is a lie, right? So things that atheists will grab it. Look. So that's why I reject altogether when you go outside the Bible to try to make me understand it better. Therefore, you end up making errors, contradictions. You change phrases, and you even violate your own Bible's principle, which is don't change not even a tittle, not even a parenthesis, not even a dot. Don't change anything, or you'll be cursed. And those that follow as it is will be blessed. That's why I only go with the Bible and Bible alone, if that makes sense to you.
Gotcha. Okay. So I understand, brother. And I think a lot of those differences and stuff that you've seen that look peculiar is because there's a different translation method that every translation attempts. And it sounds like it's a matter of preference to you that you rather go to the KJV or the Geneva Bible because you think that somebody's intentionally taking things outside the Bible and putting it in the Bible. Again, if you go to these other translations, like you mentioned, NIV, they have an extensive preface, introduction, and tells you what their translators attempted to do in every passage if you just read the notes. Like they're letting you know why this reads the way it reads. And again, NIV and NLT, those type of translations, they are what we called dynamic equivalency translations, which means they're not trying to translate word for word. They're translating thought for thought. They're looking at a phrase and say, okay, yeah, and say, okay, you know what? The audience that I'm translating this for is not going to understand this phrase. So let me say it this way. Let me translate it this way. Now, again, the way they translate it is not going to read exactly how it reads in the original language. However, it is showing the audience who's going to read it the sense of what that means. Now, let me ask you a question, brother. Give me a proverb from your native language.
A proverb?
Yeah, proverb.
From the book of Proverbs or just the Bible in general? From
your what's your native language, brother?
Well, I was born in West Coast Africa. I didn't stay there long. I left until I was 5. So more Cape Verde. That's what I would say, Cape Verde.
Okay, got it. Do you know any proverbs from Cape Verde growing up within your parents' household?
Proverb. I probably like knew a lot. Yeah, I'm thinking because it's been a long time. I left there when I was 16. So like, I
understand, brother.
I'm thinking of something, a proverb. They had a lot. It's just weird. Now they had a lot. Like, trust me, the elders used to tell us all the time, like, just awful things. It was funny, but now I just forgot. Like, But
so I can give you a few, right? And again, I'm not a native speaker, so I'm going to have to speak it in English, but it requires somebody within that culture to translate to me what it means, right? Even though I can read it in English. So if a woman doesn't love you, she calls you brother. That's very simple, right?
Yeah.
The death of an elderly man is like a burning library. Too much discussion leads to a quarrel. The old woman looks after the child to grow its teeth, and the young one in turn looks after the old woman when she loses her teeth. He who talks continuously talks nonsense. So these were translated from the original saying, but they were changed because if you literally use the word from original saying, it's not going to make sense in English.
Yeah.
So what they've done is that they examined it and say, okay, what's the best way for me to convey what these 3 or 4 words mean in this language? And then they translate in the ways in which I just said to you. Does that mean that this is a bad way to interpret that native language? No, it's just a way that it's being translated. So the person who speaks English is not stupefied or confused when it doesn't follow English syntax or when it's like 3 words, but in English is like a whole sentence. So it's a way that they're going to translate it so that the audience who's reading it can understand the sense that is given by that original idiomatic phrase. So what I'm saying is there are different Bible translations and they have different techniques for a reason. It doesn't mean they're adding to anything. The Bible itself, let me just show you real quick. The King James Version of the Bible has passages that's been added to the manuscripts. Are you aware of that? The Geneva and the King James. For example, 1 John chapter 8. I'm going to show it to you real quick. I'm going to put it on the screen. I'm going to show you 1 John chapter 8. Right? Not 1 John, excuse me, John, Gospel of John chapter 8.
Okay.
Yep. So go there real quick. So if we're going to be really concerned with what's being added to the text, and I can go to the Old Testament too, but I'm just going to do John for you for example, right? John chapter 8. This is the one that everybody knows, right? John chapter 8 is talking about the woman caught in adultery, right? You're familiar with that, right?
The woman caught in the stoning, whoever in sin cast the first stone, kind of.
Yes. Wait, and before I get to that, I just want to show you. I have something here on the screen. United Bible Societies is one of the major organizations responsible for Bible translations in the language, your native language, in the area in West Africa in which you were brought up. They were responsible for those translations. This organization right here.
Now, I never read the Bible in my native language. I read it in Portuguese. It's a made translation. So
they're also responsible for it in Portuguese, for it in Spanish, in other languages. This society or organization is responsible for spearheading translations in various languages and standardizing them. So they have a method in which they utilize to help with those entities responsible for translating in other languages. For example, if you want to understand plants in the Bible, right? Let's say that I'm in the Bible, there's a word for a plant that is not in the native region in which you were born. Right? So let's use barley, for example. So if barley grows in my region and you don't have any cereal like that in your region that grows, then what I would have to do in order to make sense for you is find something comparable to barley in the land in which you lived. So that audience there, I could use that as an example so they understand what kind of plant that is, what kind of harvest is being done there, why it's important for sustenance. For example, for my extended family, right? On my father's side, some of them go back to Igbo land, right? They have a Yam festival every year, right? That's when they get their first fruits or their first crops and they offer it up into the deity. That is the best way I can syncretize the Feast of First Fruits that we see in Leviticus chapter 23. That's the best way I can syncretize that to an audience so they can understand, oh, I see the importance of this. So you have to find ways to be able to translate something in a way that the recipient audience will be able to understand so they can get the sense of what the Most High God is teaching the people, right? Okay, go ahead, brother.
I got a problem with that though, because when I was 13, what was that? I think 14. Because I have a mind for books, so I like reading books, right? And but my peers, my friends, even my own pastors, they prefer NIV and simple books, things that, and I just prefer the King James, but at that time, before I knew like any mistake on it at all. And I realized something, the thous and the these, thous, right? He's and these. And then they read on, it came to me like, then I went online looking for the answer. What the hell is this about, right? When the pastor's talking about Nicodemus and Jesus says, you must be born again, right? The word in NIV is you, talking to Nicodemus. Jesus says, truly I say unto you that you must be born again. But the King James says, and truly I say unto thee that ye must be born again. See the difference? You see the problem there? So I tell you, Nicodemus, that everyone must be born again. But the NIV, I tell you, Nicodemus, that you need to be born again. How does that apply to me? Doesn't apply. Apply to Nicodemus. So when I see that they keep changing the Bible to make people understand, problem like that arises. The people that are deeper in the Bible like that. Right? And that's problem number one. Problem number two is was watching a video, Kent Hovind. I don't know if you know Kent Hovind.
Mm-hmm.
All right, the dinosaur, this,
KJV
all that kind of
only.
stuff.
He's a KJV onlyist, and
All
he's a staunch pusher of young Earth creationism. So yeah, I'm familiar with Ken.
So he was debating some professors, whatever, right? And they were trying to convince him how the Bible is not true and whatever. He has problems in and out stuff. And cleverly, he was able to pinpoint location in the Bible to prove that those things happen there, just because the Bible mentioned a plant specifically grows in that one place at that one specific time, in that one time of the year, the month. So they were able to pinpoint that location because of one plant. So when you said people are allowed, like this culture, people here allowed to go and change the Bible to put a plant of my own language so I can make sense of it, things like that will get lost if they add those things like that. If they change the plant name, so something in my country, so I can make sense of me, we will lose debate against atheists, against non-believers, against the Muslims, because they were able to say it's a problem with your Bible and this doesn't exist, this plant doesn't exist here, it's a lie. And what's the answer to that?
I got you. So what I'm saying is these would be in marginal notes. So again, it'll be translated directly of what it is or transliterated because that word may not be in that native language. So you have to transliterate it in order to maintain what the name of the word is from Hebrew or Greek, and you have to transliterate it. So you look at that, what we call the donor language, recipient language, the language you want to translate it to, and we'll find out, okay, so what is the IPA, the International Phonetic Alphabet for this particular language? And then I'll take, let's say, the Aleph in Hebrew, and I'll match it to a consonant there. I'll take the Resh and match it to a consonant there. And that way, I'm preserving as close as I can the phoneme, the way the word is pronounced in the Hebrew and the way it's spelled in Hebrew in the language I'm translated into. So you do have those techniques that maintain all what you have in the Hebrew text or the Greek text into that language. But what I was saying was sometimes a thought-for-thought translation may try to use syncretism to explain the sense and the importance of what's being conveyed to the other language in which they're trying to translate it to. So there's a huge process outside the Bible that has to be done so that translations can match up and proficiently explain what the Bible is saying to a country or a people that may have never read the Bible before. It's a whole process. So the same thing happened with the Geneva Bible. They're looking at the Greek manuscripts and the Hebrew manuscripts that they have. They're looking at other commentaries. They're looking at other annotations elsewhere. They're doing a whole process to put that Bible together. Same thing with the King James Version. They do a similar process, but they build a lot off of Tyndale's work, which is the translation after the Geneva Bible. And they do the same type of process to put the translation together. They're going outside the Bible. Matter of fact, the translators have written extensively on what they've contributed and where they've gotten their insight on for various translations of the KJV Bible. They're going outside the Bible for this.
Yeah, I get that.
You can't there's no way around that, my brother. No way around it.
I get what you're saying, but I wrote like two problems there. That how would you answer that?
Okay.
Those problems because they did that.
Which ones? Which problems?
For example, the pinpointing of a location in the Bible because of the one plant that can only be in that place at one time. If we change it to my own language, to my own place, you can be lost in one generation or two.
I'm not even talking about that anymore, bro. But I agree with you. Brother, I agree with you. So that's why I said transliteration is the best way to share that in a translation to your native language, right? So again, this is why UBS, the organization that I showed you up there, has provided what's called Helps for Translators. And they provide this book that goes into the botany of that land in Israel. I don't know, it's getting broken up a little bit.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah, I see it.
So they look at the plant life in Israel and they say, okay, what is this? Identify it based on the Hebrew words or the Greek words. And then they say, okay, how can I best take this, what this is, and explain it to them? Because that culture is not going to know anything about what the heck that is. They've never seen it in their life. They've never been exposed to it. They have no clue what it is. I can either transliterate it and maintain what the Hebrew calls it into their language, or I can give it a name. that makes sense in that recipient language, and they can say, "Oh, okay, I understand that." Right?
I have a problem with that. Can you give me an example actually would they apply that kind of logic in the Bible so I can see like what you're talking about? Because I'm really hard time accepting that kind of reasoning. Why would you change the name of a plant in a specific location and make up some plant in Africa that pretty much not even the same? Why would you do that?
Oh, not make it up. What I'm saying is give it a name that can be understood.
That's
with
making
the
it
language. Okay, well, that's not making it up.
You gave it a name that's not true. That's not original to the other one. That's you making.
You're
maybe I'm misunderstanding you. Yeah,
I hear you, brother. So what I'm saying is, like, for example, there's names that we give animals, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nicknames? You mean nicknames? Oh
no, just a name of an animal. Like if I call something if I call something a turkey vulture, that's a name that I gave an animal, right?
Is that a real animal? Turkey vulture?
Yeah, turkey vultures are real animals. Yeah. and they eat dead things. It's called carrion. They eat dead things.
You mean the vultures?
Turkey vultures.
Oh, there's a turkey vulture, then there's a vulture.
Yeah. No, well, it's saying turkey because of some of its features, right? And aspects are similar to
it looks like a turkey, but it's a vulture.
But it's related to a vulture, correct. So what I'm saying is that is a word that if I never, like you just said, that's a real thing. If you've never seen one, and I've seen them in zoos, if you've never seen one,
how would you right quick?
Go ahead. You would say, well, how would I be able to explain something like this to somebody in another language? And it's again, it's a way in which you translate it so that other language will understand what the heck you're talking about.
This exists in my country. I know this. I know this bird.
Okay, so how you say you didn't know?
Because it's the English turkey vulture.
That's my point. Hey, that's my point. So, brother, watch this. What do they call it in your language? They don't call it turkey vulture.
No, that's urubu.
That's my point. That's not how you say it in Hebrew either.
Yeah, but once you give it that, if you put it in Hebrew, I can just what the hell is this? I can look it up. I'll see the picture. I'm like, oh, that's a urubu they're talking about. Okay, I must be exactly. But if you change,
so what, brother? So if I was to give you a Bible, no, watch this. If I was to give a Bible to somebody in your country, how do you think I would translate that?
You would just put it urubu.
But that's not what the Hebrew says.
That's a translator. You translating it.
I got it. And that's not what the English calls it. The Hebrew calls it something different. And that's why I said you got to translate it. That's my point.
Yeah, that's fine. That's what they're doing. That's fine. What I thought you were saying is for example, there's a bird doesn't exist in Africa. Now you got to make up a name for that bird or something that look closer to that bird in Africa. That's what I thought you would be you're saying.
So, and the thing is, so what if the turkey vulture was not in Africa? How would I translate that to somebody who's in, let's say, in Cameroon? How would I be able to translate so they know what the heck that is?
Keep the original name. We're gonna look it up and we're gonna find it what it is.
Wait. You said you got to look it up. That means you're going outside the Bible now.
But the Bible remained true to the word of that bird.
Yes, but if you don't know what it is, you don't
I'm going, not the Bible itself. I'm going, not the Bible.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, you still have to go outside the Bible to understand the Bible.
Yes,
that's
I am going.
That you brought up. Do you agree with
that? Yes, I said I am going, not the Bible.
Okay, so I got you. So we keep the translation faithful, but the people who translated it had to go outside the Bible in order to translate the Bible.
Which they find out, which is that what the bird is.
That's one of the things that they do. You have to learn what that is to say, okay, how can I translate this? And because it's the same thing.
Language. It's a language. Language outside the Bible. So
that's what I'm saying. So it's not the language is not outside the Bible. Remember, Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek is what the Bible is being translated from. Right. Yeah. So you have to know something about those languages in order to translate it into whatever language you want to translate it into. You have to go outside the Bible to learn these things. That's important because there's phrases in the Bible that are very difficult to translate. I give you an example. The book of Job is one of the oldest books of the Bible, the book of Job. If you look at any commentaries about the book of Job from any Bible translation, there's over 30 words that they do not know how to properly translate. So what they do is they just give it a name for whatever it is, to suffice. This is in your King James Bible too. To suffice, because they do not know what that word means, because that phrase is no longer being used. They don't know what it means. Now, if I had time, my brother, I can go over that with you just from the book of Job.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. For example, the unicorn, right? We don't use that we use it like as a horse with the one horn, but people didn't know it was a rhinoceros with the one horn. So I know what you're talking about.
That's my point, brother. Wait. That's my point. So if that's inaccurate, why would translators add that if that's inaccurate?
What specifically? What you asking?
Yeah, names for animals that don't exist, because they're not sure how to translate it or how to explain it to whoever's reading that translation.
To that, I would say. To that, I would say that's why it's important to keep the faithful language, because culture change, understanding of people change. Back in the days, a unicorn was a rhinoceros with one horn, was a one horn animal. Now it's some stupid horse, with a rainbow behind it, right? So if you keep it as a unicorn, the atheists will like, look, what the hell is this stupid? They have like a mythical made up animal that, but the Bible readers won't understand it. The ones that kept to the faithful, like, no, here's the dictionary of the written in that timeline, a time frame of this year. A unicorn means a one-horned animal, not whatever you think it is now. Then we're able to point out the logic flaw of the atheist. See how you stupid you are. You unread, you unlearned.
But brother, watch. But let me ask you a question. So if I mention a unicorn and a dragon, this is found in the Bible.
Yeah.
And that's in your King James Bible, and these things don't exist. Somebody did exactly what you said they shouldn't do. They made something up.
A dragon, a unicorn?
Yes.
What do you mean they don't exist? I'm confused now.
Do unicorns exist, brother?
It's a one-horned animal. That's what unicorn is.
But they translate it as unicorn in the KJV.
Yes.
Wait. Do unicorns exist? We know what a unicorn is. It's a mythical creature. Do unicorns exist?
Okay.
I'm asking you, brother, do they exist?
I'm not. Give me a second, right? Give me a second. I just explained that the modern. Hold on. I just explained the modern mind. The modern mind understands the unicorn to be this mythical creature. The ancient mind knows what unicorn is. I just explained that. I thought we were on the same page. Brother, if you ask what unicorn is, it doesn't exist. Which one are you talking about? The one of ancient or the one?
Wait, brother, listen. Why didn't the King James translators, like you said, just keep the name of it?
They did.
Why do they have to translate it to a unicorn, which we know in modern early English in Europe at the time when this translation is being done, they know unicorns are mythical creatures. You know how we know? King James was also responsible for helping to author a book of demonology and other books as well. And he talks about mythical creatures. And the whole committee that's translating it is using the word unicorn for something that they don't even know what it really is. And you know why? Wait, you know why? Because those translators never went to Africa to see this animal or Israel to see this animal that they're trying to translate. That is the problem. This is why you have to study things outside the Bible in order for things in the Bible to make sense. Because now, if a non-believer is reading this, they say, "Oh, damn, unicorns is in the Bible. This is a mythical," because all cultures don't have unicorns in them. This is what I'm saying. Like the Mayan culture, there's no unicorns in their culture. So if I give them a King James version of the Bible and they read it in Numbers 23 and 22, and they say, "Oh, is it a unicorn? I didn't know unicorns are in the Bible." That's just showing you markers of the European culture that other cultures don't share. It's not even a real animal. It's a mythical creature. Do you understand what I'm saying, brother? They made that up.
1 second. Can I say something?
Yes, brother. You got it.
In Rome, they knew what unicorns were, to the faithful language of unicorns. They had them in the Colosseums fighting people. They had registries, unicorn coming in and fighting gladiators. Rome was before Europe was a thing.
No, because Rome is in Europe. Europa. That
I mean the Roman Empire, not the Roman city.
Yeah, but I got you. But the Romans, they come from Rome in Italy, right? At the time, it was the place of the Lombards, right? but it is a city in Italy that we know in modern day Europe, or what they call back then Europa. What I'm saying to you is this, brother. There is no animal that is a horse with a long horn coming out of its head. That does not exist.
Correct.
So what I'm saying to you, brother, got you. So what I'm saying to you is they made that up. The same thing that you're mad at, which I'm saying, like, hey, sometimes they got to call it something, right? So that whoever's reading it can understand it. And again, they're writing to their English audience. They're not writing to me. They're writing to their English audience. They made that up. So you have a made up word of a made up creature that's in your King James Version of the Bible, and that's in your Tyndale Bible and your Bishop's Bible, and it goes back to your Geneva Bible. They have all this stuff in there.
Just 1 second. I think you're wrong on they made that up, because a unicorn is known, like even the dictionaries of the old unicorn throughout the ages. People knew unicorn to be one-horned animal, which is rhinoceros. Even in Central Edition, have it as rhinoceros.
Is a unicorn a rhinoceros?
Yes, correct. One rhinoceros. I think that's the female one that has one. The male has two. So they call that like.
Have you read any English literature before, brother? Like from that time period of the late 1500s, early 1600s? They did not recognize a unicorn as a rhinoceros. Some of them had expeditions in Africa. Yeah, what I'm saying is, they had expeditions in Africa where they're actually going and looking at these animals, and they have a zoo biologist that's going out looking at these animals and creating what's called a taxonomic structure, where he's explaining what their genus is, what their species is, what family they belong to, what phylum they belong to. They have those registers in their culture. Now, they're very early in the 1500s, but it gets mature by the 18th century, 18th, 19th century. What I'm saying to you is they acknowledge in their culture, they have the word unicorn in other literature in Europe at the time, especially among the English, right? And a unicorn is a horse with a horn. It's a horse. It's a mythical creature. They don't mean it to be a rhinoceros when they're translating it as a unicorn in the Bible. They're not saying, oh, okay, well, let's give another word for rhinoceros. That's not what they're doing. They're giving you a made-up creature, and they say re'em means a unicorn. That's how they're translating it. That actually comes from a literary tradition that precedes the King James Version of the Bible, where they believe. Yeah, brother.
Go ahead. Now, I'm not arguing. I'm not arguing. We didn't have Shakespeare. We did have guys making mythical stories, trying to impress people. The movies, theaters, things like that. Those always existed. Even in Rome, they have mythical animals. But the readers of the language understood the unicorn meant. What a unicorn is. What a unicorn is. We have a unicorn in Africa, right? Culture is different from the Bible.
Wait, you have a horse with a horn coming out of its head in Africa?
I said a unicorn, which is a rhinoceros in Africa. That's what unicorn means. One-horned animal. Unicorn.
Brother, I need you to look up a satyr in Isaiah 13:21, a cockatrice in Isaiah 11:8, the dragons in Isaiah 30:6. There's all types of words that's being used to describe things that are not the things that the translators translated it as. If they knew what a rhinoceros is, and again, the rhinoceros is more of a zoo biological term, right? So they wouldn't have called a rhinoceros a rhinoceros. Literally, unicorn means one horn. It's literally what it means, right?
One horn
you said. However, they have images of what that one horn animal is at this time period, and it's a horse with a horn coming out of his head, not a rhinoceros.
That's
brother.
Peter. That's culture. That's Peter. Culture is not the same as the Bible.
But they use the culture to translate the Bible. That's why unicorn is there. Let me show you something.
Are you gay?
What?
Are you gay?
Am I gay?
Yeah.
Hell no.
What? So you're not happy?
Brother, hold on, brother. Wait.
You see what I mean? No. Do you know what the word gay meant? Happy back in the days.
I understand. It's what's called a connotation. I understand that, brother. Yeah. I understand, right? So the term when you say gay meaning homosexual, that's a connotation that develops over time.
I got you.
But brother, you can't say that to me, and I'm from the Bronx, and I'm in America, and saying, "Oh, you gay." You know how we translate it here. I got you, brother. However, watch this. However, if I was translating something to you from, let's say, the Bible to whatever language, I would be considerate of that. Hey, if I use the word gay, how would this be interpreted? What if I mean just happy? Well, let me use a synonym for happy. Or if I mean somebody that likes the same gender, let me use another synonym for that gender. Because if I just use this generic word, it may be misinterpreted. So I would look for synonyms to help describe what I'm talking about. Otherwise, you just answered the point I was trying to make. Otherwise, the other culture that's receiving the translation, they may be confused and say, well, what? What does this mean? Huh?
That's when context comes in.
Yeah.
That's when context comes in. If you say, like, I'm really gay today, like, wait a minute, why today? Why not yesterday? Why not tomorrow? Then people look it up and say, oh, he's happy right now. Or for example, it says David was gay at the Lord. Like, what the hell? David was happy at the Lord, or the Lord was gay at David. You understand? So the context would change. For example, the word right there, Jesus, right? I don't agree with that because I know what that is. I know who that painting faces is. I know what that name is. The name I use is Yeshua. They should have kept that in there, right?
Correct.
So they put Jesus. When I read that, I think of a European white man. I don't think of Yeshua from. So they should have kept that the original Yeshua.
I agree.
Yeshua.
I agree.
So if you agree with me, why you accept the word translation to understand the culture that means Jesus?
But that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you have to use an interpreted method to translate these things. Like you said, you have to learn the culture of that time. You got to learn the language of that time, know some history of that time, know some animals, plants of that time, things that man makes with his hand.
Homework. Yeah, some homework.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is when a translation is being made and given to you, they have to do all that homework before they give you a translation. They don't just wake up one day and say, oh, let me write the Bible out. That doesn't work that way. Like they do a bunch of work. And what I want to do for you, my brother, I want to share something with you so you can see what some of that work is, right? I'm going to give it to you. This is for the King James. I have one in Geneva somewhere, but I'm going to give this one to you on the King James. This gives you everything you need to know about the King James translations, who's involved, why it exists, its errors, its reprinting, all of that. I want to give it to you, brother. It's my gift to you.
I already know that. Trust me. I already know. I've been doing this.
I didn't say you didn't, but there may be something in here that maybe
could be.
Yeah. So I'm gonna put it in the chat. You can click it. You can also go back over this video and click it on the replay, brother. But I'm gonna make sure I provide it to you. Now I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna end off because I gotta go now. It's almost 8 o'clock. I didn't realize it. I was having a great time talking to you, but I gotta close out the session, right? So let me do this, right? I want to give you 2 minutes to close out for what your point is, right? That you want the listeners and the watchers to ponder on, and then I'm gonna do the same, and I'm gonna close out. All right. So I'm gonna give you the floor, brother. You got it.
Well, this was a good conversation. I enjoyed it. It wasn't confrontational. It wasn't like a debate. It was just like exchanging, understanding a little bit. But my position, I stand on believe the Bible as it is. Don't try to change it because the Bible teaches on not to do one. Not even change a tittle, never mind a whole word or sentence. That's a problem to God. God even says, I will add the Constitution to you if you change anything in this book at all. I don't know how small it is. For that reason, is why I press and have a hard time accepting anything that's not directly faithful to the word. I believe the homework should be done by the readers, not by the authors, because if the authors change the word, one generation or two, that word will lose its meaning because culture will move on to that word. If you keep changing to the culture, eventually we will not know what that word originally means. It'll be gone like in 5 generations. If every generation you change a word, at some point, unicorn would mean a spoon, like what is a spoon? Don't change it. Just keep it there. Let the people do the homework, trace back what the word originally meant. For example, some animals are extinct. We don't know what they meant. But if you kept the word, you're able to go look it up. Oh, that's what that was. But we can have a word for it now that's mythical. So don't keep changing to the mythical of the culture. Don't follow culture. Let the culture follow Bible. Let your culture adjust to the book. Let the culture of the time adjust to God. Not God changing to whatever, chasing people's understanding. That's what I would have to. I would end it with that. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure, my brother, and I want to tell you, you're my brother first. Before we disagree on anything, right? I'm going to give you respect, and I want to make sure that you're heard, right? So this is a totally different platform because I allow conversations. Because if somebody disagrees, I want to hear what they have to say because it's something that I myself can learn from, right? So what I want to say is this: whether the author or the translator, I'm not going to say author because they didn't author the Bible. They just translated the Bible. The translators use a process of interpretation before they translate. In the Geneva Bible and the preface, they tell you how they do that, right? And their introduction, they give you a little bit more and how they do that. And their notes, footnotes, they tell you more on how they do it. And their marginal notes, they tell you more how they do that. And in appendices, they tell you how they do that. So they have a whole process that goes into interpretation before they translate. And this is why we have to see what methods they're using to see if we feel that that is justifiable before we read their translation or support their translation. They had to do this work in order to translate the Bible because the Bible was not written in English originally. The same thing goes for the user. I have also went outside the Bible. And again, this is what you call me out on because I need some information, which you agreed that the reader should also go outside the Bible in order for us to interpret what the translation is saying or even using tools in 2026 to see what the original language actually said that the translator is translating from. So I think we all had to do our due diligence, whether it's a translation or the reader has to go into the process for us to understand the Most High's word so we can actually apply it and yield the results that he intended for us to receive today. So a lot of what you said, brother, hats off to you. I appreciate you putting on the table some things I'll consider. But at the same time, please, when you get a chance, read that preface, introduction, marginal notes, and appendix to something they put at the back of the translation book and see what it says. And you'll get enlightened to like, whoa, they did this before they translated. Oh, they did that in order to translate this. And that way you could be more well-balanced. So somebody asks you questions like what I did about unicorn and stuff like that. You have a more readied and well-studied answer to refute that if they're trying to undermine the word of God. All right. So I appreciate your time, my brother. Thank you so much. I look forward to building with you again. Hey, when you get a chance, email me at kingdomharbinger@gmail.com. You'll see it in the description below. Let's stay in touch. And I look forward to future conversations, my brother Juve. Let me ask you one last question before I let you go. Are you an actual professor?
I teach Bible, but not like it's somewhat of a friend joke. It's not like a university or anything like that. I teach Bible to my. I have a YouTube channel, but I got busy.
What is it? What is it? Shout it out! Shout it out! What is it? So we can
I think it's Professor Juve, Professor J. That's what it is. Professor. Hold on, let me see here. My friends kind of pushed me to it because we talk about Bible a lot. They're like, just make a channel, man. I didn't want to do it because I'm busy. And they forced me to do it. Brother. Let me see here. So they made it for me. I just show up there and talk, and after that I get out. But it's Professor Juvenile, Bible Topics, Professor Juvenile. Professor Juvenile, Juvenal.
You said Professor Juve?
Juvenal, Juvenal.
Okay, let me see if I can find that. And so what I do on here, even when people I disagree, because I see you as family or brother, I want to help promote you as well, right? Because if you have a point and it may reach one or two of those watching this channel that can help improve their walk, then I want to make sure that they eat from the appropriate plates so they can grow spiritually, right? So I'm not limiting things to just me. I never do that, right?
Thank you.
Oh yeah, definitely, brother.
One question: you're not Christian, right?
No, I'm not Christian.
Okay.
Are you Christian?
No, I don't agree with that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm identify as an Israelite. Yep.
My dad is, so we always fight about that. So
your dad is an Israelite?
No, he's Christian.
Oh, he's a Christian. So what do you identify as?
Me? Bible colors a bunch of names. I'll just say I'm a believer. I just believe in the book. That's it.
Believer? Okay, yeah. No problem.
Just labels. I'll be honest, and since we're in Africa, a lot of history is lost. We don't know what we are. We just have to put our hands up and like, yeah. So we have to read the Bible and try to, that's understanding, because we could have been anything. We just taking slavery and names change, address change, toss it somewhere. So nothing you can do about that, I guess. You just don't know what you don't know.
That's right, brother. And I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Professor Juve, for being here. And I look forward to speaking to you again, my brother. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Shalom.
Bye-bye.
All right. That was interesting. So let me close out because I didn't realize it was so late. However, I pray that what we shared here on this live was edifying to you all. I didn't get into all the details with him. I wanted to get into the text itself with him, do some textual criticism to show him things that was added to the Bible before a translation was even a thought, right? Things he has to question because these things are included in his King James Bible, his Geneva Bible, Bishop Pilgrim's Bible, whatever Bible you want to go through. These interpolations to the manuscripts have been included in these translations. So if anybody is changing the word, it's not modern translations or critical edition translations. It's actually the ones who handle the manuscripts that the translations come from. So that's something important to keep in mind, and we should educate ourselves on these things. So with that being said, y'all, I love your family. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. I'm glad I was able to allow him to speak his mind. Again, I didn't suppress his voice. I didn't argue with him. We had a decent build, passionate one, and y'all was able to learn and discover some truth. Thank you so much for your support, family. I appreciate it. Again, if you want to support this channel, there's links in the bottom. You can do so. We have Cash App and we have Square that goes directly to the ministry. We have Patreon that you can sign up for and get an immediate return on your investment because there are tons of content on there that you can access once you sign up to one of the paid tiers. We also have some free content for those who are free members as well. We're at almost 1,040 members, so we're approaching 1,100. That's another milestone we're about to hit, and we need your help to get there, right? Also, follow me on TikTok because that's where I'm at a lot now lately. And there's a lot of conversations, debates, discussions, and teachings that I do on TikTok, and I would like y'all to get some of that as well. And if there's anything that we can do to serve you or help you, let us know. Email us at kingdomharbinger@gmail.com. And please, those of you who came late, replay the video. Check out Kingdom Harbinger Ministries initiative with the coveted social reconstruction model that is designed to terraform your community into a refuge city and into a Goshen so we can be autonomous. We can practice kingdom etiquette and we can wait out the judgments before Yah redeems us from this planet via his agent, Yeshua, and others that he assigns. All right. So thank you so much for your time, family. I love you. I appreciate you. Look forward to working with y'all soon and seeing you again on the next live. Peace and shalom, family. Shalom, shalom.